Joining us in an exclusive interview, Kelly King, Chairman and CEO of Truist. Kelly, good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Of course, another action we've seen in the last 24 hours to help liquidity in the banking system was announced via the Financial Services Forum that 8 of your peers are tapping the Fed's discount window. Are you doing the same?
We are not at this point. Wilfred, we are very, very liquid and very well capitalized, and we've not been asked to tap the window in terms of support of the system, so we're not at this point.
Is it a sign of weakness that some of the other banks have done so?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I think this was simply a measure on the part of the Fed to make sure the system was working in case it were to become necessary. But I'm fairly positive in saying that none of those institutions had any need for that. But it was reasonable probably to ask them, the very largest institutions, to access the system just to make sure all the mechanics were working all right.
So Kelly, clearly everyone is asking the question, how much pressure are companies and consumers facing, and are they meeting their various interest payments on the debts and loans they have? What can you tell us on that front, and what are you doing to help them?
Well, I think it's really interesting. Until a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, most businesses that we deal with were doing very well. It's really been underlying a good economy. That's the thing that's interesting about where we are. This has not been an economic or financial challenge, but it is turning into one very rapidly. So until very recently, I would say most people would say business is pretty good, but they were worried about what was happening globally in terms of trade wars and so forth. But now, the coronavirus has gotten here very close to home. Everybody's very concerned. Everybody's worried. Small businesses get impacted the most about this. We hear a lot about the $500 billion commercial paper activities of the Fed, and that's really important. But the little small businesses on Main Street are the ones that really begin to suffer the fastest and the most. And so what we're trying to do is work very closely. We are the financial partner for hundreds of thousands of those clients, and we are doing everything we can in terms of extending terms for those clients, working with them in terms of their financial plans, making adjustments, reducing interest rates. We're being very aggressive in terms of helping them get through this so that they can survive and thrive on the other side.
What about, Kelly, for someone that's not necessarily a client already, be it an airline or an oil company, for example? What do you need to see from the government in terms of guarantee, for example, to extend a loan that you wouldn't otherwise do to those sorts of companies?
Well, I think from a long-term point of view, we have to be careful about government intervention in terms of the business environment. Having said that, though, we know that there are critical infrastructure industries, such as the airline industry, the energy industry, that when there is a huge business interruption and we are at the risk of putting our own country's national security and overall economic vitality at risk, it is reasonable for the government to intervene. And so stepping in with government guarantees, hopefully short-term in nature, or direct funding for some of these industries makes sense. The key is that it's very contained, specific, and short-term in terms of its life, because we do not want to have these companies funded by the federal government from a long-term point of view.